probably wondering what these boxes behind the entire set were. Well, just saying, I wouldn't worry too much about those just yet. To say this review was in the works for a long time is the understatement of the year, even as this video is probably going to be released sometime in 2023. So much so that I teased it all the way back last year, or 2021, depending on when this comes out, and I'm only now getting to it. Every single Gundam high grade I own at present. yeah, as if. I'm just gonna review this orange man first. Now, this was intended to be a super ultra mega review of every Gundam I own, but as more kits kept getting added, the list grew larger and larger and larger. Even with the kits only teased at the end of the last review, damn thing got a bullshit copyright claim because of dire docs, but I got 156 views off that. Thank you guys so much. It would easily take over an hour to review them all. So special, super duper thanks to fellow content creator and artist and person who inspired something that I will show you here in like 38 seconds for telling me that it was best to contain myself instead of doing every set in one go. Ultimately, this was probably the best case scenario, because if I had any work ethic back then, I would have done that after the Smashers video anyway. And one more thing, while I know the significance of the Char Zaku 2 to a point, wow, that was so difficult, I don't know everything or anything else. And I ask that you keep your lore tidbits to yourselves, as I actually want to watch Gundam at some point. I don't want more info than I have in the event it ruins a plot point. Alright, before we move though, as of this video going live and as of this screenshot being taken, I would have hit 100 subscribers on the channel, which is, I mean, it's a small number in comparison to, say, 1,000 subscribers, 1,000,000 subscribers, but just think about it, just contextualize it for 38 seconds. There's 100 people. They're all in an auditorium or a stage or something. They all gather around just to watch you play with a random action figure for whatever reason. In that spirit, it boggles my mind to think about. Thank you guys so much. And so, in spirit of this milestone, no matter how comparatively small it might be, here is something that I've wanted to do for a couple months now. Sleepy Coco is now officially real. Even though the face tracking isn't the best. There is no real way to say that I'm thankful other than just outright saying, I'm really thankful. I'm not the best at this sort of thing because sometimes I feel I come off as disingenuous. Sometimes I feel as though I'm not getting the point across that I am thankful. Sometimes I don't feel like I'm actually showing that, but really seriously, from the bottom of my heart, to all 100 of you, even if not all 100 of you see this, thank you. From the bottom of my heart. This will be the second time I've thanked someone from the bottom of my heart. And in that spirit, besides this VTuber model, I've got absolutely nothing new to talk about. Here's another toy review. This makes things even weirder because I actually recorded this VTuber stuff before I hit 100 subscribers. So it was just supposed to be another regular video. And then this happened! Why'd you guys do that? Now this feels a lot less special. Now, a common theme you'll find with these kits is that I built them as is out of the box. So the nub marks are still going to be on the figure. I did attempt panel lining but failed miserably and didn't really dabble in paint too much. We'll get into why later in the video, but honestly, the Char Zaku 2 doesn't really need it. It looks just fine on its own, aside from the attempted panel lining. Okay, fine, I didn't do bad, but I could have done a lot better, and it really does show. Speaking of really showing, my copy is irreparably damaged. To be fair, this figure was fine when I first got it, but My current life almost did this figure in, but I do have plans on nabbing another Char Zaku 2 to be more in line with my other kits, which I will leave this one as a battle damaged variant. Similar to Gundam Heavy Arms, though I haven't scuffed that one up yet, and the Iron-Blooded Orphans. Why didn't I put down his name in the script? The Barbados, which I did scuff up since I did have 2. Get owned. I am 20 years old and I just said get owned. What the hell is my life? But right now, as it stands, besides that, this is the kit, as is, out of the box, one snip off the runner, maybe a couple others, because holy shit, some of these looked atrocious. And even with that, it looks great. This is why I said that arguably, the Char Zaku 2 doesn't need paint, as the model itself is actually pretty screen accurate. I don't buy these kits for screen accuracy specifically, but it is nice to see. The lack of heavy amounts of detail make this a pretty good example of the, quote, Roger Rabbit effect. I still haven't seen Gundam as of watching it. What? What kind of sentence is that? What was I on? But it really does look like I snagged the guy straight from the animation panel. It looks great. How many times have I said that in this script alone? Goddamn. And of course, I can't talk about a Zaku model kit without mentioning the head. Beautifully plain, yet intimidating. It speaks at a human level with its curvature and these hoses that make up this gas mask look, but it's also very artificial, with hoses running along the legs, these thrusters on the feet, and the singular eye and a hollow void. One of the reasons why people like Shockwave so much, no matter which side of the coin. Even the head fin is a great touch. And I did go ahead and nip off the safety nub for a better look. I know I sound like Jobby right now, but he just found a style of review that and he also did a style of talking that doesn't sound like complete sin. It works well, okay? Speaking of working pretty damn well, of all the things I inherit from him, it's his shitty segues. I even wrote that in the script. That's how you know that I fucked up. I like the colors of the Char Zaku 2. It almost makes it a compliment to the RX-78-2, which I guess it kind of is with this entry grade RX that I got with the US stuff. That doesn't count. And funny enough, despite Charmander... Fuck it, I'm leaving that in. And funny enough, despite Charmander not being the name of the specific Zaku mecha, rather the name of its pilot, it does give off this fiery appearance with its coloring. In hindsight, I don't know why I wrote that down. The colors are nice and appealing, with bright orange, then a darker red, then this almost gunmetal color they used for the inner frame and the chest. But I mean, I could see where I'm coming from with warm colors and all that, but why did I write that down? That was completely unnecessary. And by the way, I wrote this down in the script, and I'm probably gonna automatically forget it, but for future reference, I'm going to call the darker reds on stuff like the Char Zaku 2, the Goof... What? The what? The Goof Custom and the Char Zaku 2 again. I'm gonna refer to the darker reds on those figures. Get the fuck out of here. I'm going to refer to the darker red on those figures as Metru Red, because that's basically a personal bias. I grew up with Bionicle more than I did with Gundam. I talked about the looks of it enough, though. How does it... Well, if your only experience with figures are McFarlane and Bionicle, this guy not only feels really solid, but really light as well. It does have some heft, so it's not as light as a kilogram of feathers, but it's a lot more complex in its engineering, and it's a lot easier to get Char up in the air, and it genuinely feels a lot more solid as a result. There are a lot of poses that this guy can get in that similarly built Bionicle Mox cannot. The only thing about the solidity of the figure was actually this joint right here. Out of the box, it was even more loose than a cannon. Note to self, what the fuck are you doing, dude? So I took the piece itself off, covered the ball joint here with some super glue, waited overnight for it to dry, and reattached it once it was ready. fix the issue right up. And it would only make sense that this is the thing that people want Jobby to review more, but it would also be kind of funny to not do any of his gags at all. We have a ball joint at the base of the head and a hinge joint at the base of the neck. Along that, we have a slider inside the head, which can move the mono eye around. This makes the head pretty damn expressive, even with its otherwise stoic features. It can look up a pretty decent amount, and it can look down extremely far. Spoilers! This is about as good as Zaku posability is gonna get. And already the shoulders are complicated as fuck. Ball joint at the initial attachment point, then a butterfly joint here, with the aforementioned ball joint allowing for backwards movement, and even downward and upward movement at the shoulder, and the actual rotation at the shoulder. We haven't even left the goddamn shoulder area, and already this gives most figures I've touched a run for their money. Ball joint at the spike pauldron, and a hinge joint swivel, hinge joint at the shield. The arm, of course, moves out on a hinge, which is kinda limited, but the ball joint in the chest cavity, ball joint, allows for more outward movement. I'm gonna be blunt with you, this review would have been a lot easier if I just spoke from the heart again. Swivel at the bicep and the elbow with a hinge in between the two, serving as part of the incredibly deep double bend at the elbow. And by the way, some people might think sets like Prydak have way too many frickin' joints. Leave a like and a comment if you get that reference. But if you ask me, a swivel at the bicep and the elbow is a bit excessive. Previously mentioned ball joint just before the wrist, and even a ball joint at the wrist proper. I don't even care if the Cabal figure I got was a fluke. McFarlane, you are officially obsolete. Look at the amount of action you could give this entire assembly, and tell me that I'm wrong. This even puts way too many friggin' joints, trademark, to shame. How do you even do that? Ah, shit. Yeah, note to self, just speak from the heart again. You sound like a machine. Hinge joint at the upper ab section, or is it the lower ab section? I don't know. And a ball joint at the waist. I thought a simple ball joint was fine. It can get better. Front skirts move. Shit. Side skirts are on a hinge, and the back skirts do absolutely nothing. There are things that can mitigate that issue, but we will get to that once we cover the accessories. Not a bad forward kick at all. Backward technically could be better, but it is more realistic. At least I can't move my leg that far back. Nearly horizontal splits, and a thigh swivel for good measure. Double bend at the knee, which is kind of hindered by this hose, but not to a point where the whole leg is useless. Again, what the fuck gives? Hinge joint, allowing for forward and backward movement. Another hinge joint further down. Ball joint at the back of the foot, and another hinge joint inside the foot. You can't even see it, so it was kind of pointless to point it out. With a ball joint at this ankle guard thing to round it all up. This may sound like an absolute clusterfuck of a setup, but believe me, it's pretty versatile and simple to use. You're not gonna have to use every joint individually. You can just move the foot itself and all the joints will work accordingly. Good enough, I guess. The articulation for the Char Zaku alone is second to none. And this is, by and large, the articulation for the rest of the kits I have, except for this entry grade, but he's American, so he doesn't count. He'd be more concerned about the pronouns I use anyway. They say as they live in the most conservative state to ever exist, even though it's the least populated as well. Our welcome sign is pretty cool, though. Hey, American RX-72 entry grade. Do you want to see me practice my First Amendment rights? Great! Ignoring my unideal living conditions, we have a handful of accessories. We also have some more accessories. Yeah, that scratched out text seems about appropriate. Real quick, as it's actually relevant to what we just talked about. The articulation, not how bad Wyoming is. In addition to these plastic skirts, you also get these rubber skirts that taste like ink cartridges. Do not ask me how I know that. Replacing these is as simple as you think it is. Tear them in half, remove the back skirt, and if you split the front skirts like I did, you can remove them by simply pulling them from the socket. If not though, how did you attach them? Remove this washer, thing, then slide it into the side skirts in this orientation, and the other piece simply follows it. And then you replace the washer. That's it. That's the end of the sentence. Why did I suck at writing, apparently? All things considered, this is technically better. It allows for more backward movement and even flows more naturally with the legs. Personally, though, not quite my tempo. Not to say it's bad or anything, it really isn't. It just feels better personally to have something that I can actually animate separately, which is why the capes on most Lego figures are not really my favorites. As the father himself told us, however, it's your toy. Display it however you wish. I gotta make sure that I'm still recording. Oh yeah, do you like how this thing has just been staring and staring? I promise, if one of these days I do get an upgrade, it will be a lot better than this. As for the rest of the accessories, you have fists with gaps as big as the hole in my heart after the bullshit I put up with in 2022, which are for the included Heat Hawk, which just slides it. A smallish hatchet with 1,000-degree knife powers is appropriate for the character, albeit a bit small. Even still, pair this with the included open hand, singular, and the amount of times I fall back on this setup for something really intimidating or action-filled poses is almost comical. But sometimes close range combat doesn't cut it. Sometimes you want to shoot someone instead of chop their head off. I can relate. That's why you get 2 trigger finger hands. I got 2 of these, but not 2 of these. Why? These hold the included firepower in the kit. To attach either weapon to the hand, you take the thumb off, add this tab on the side of the handle to the slot in the hand. Can be a bit fiddly at times, but it's easy enough to wrangle. And reattach the thumb like you never took them in the first place. We have a machine gun, specifically a Zaku machine gun, and a bazooka, specifically a bazooka. Okay, that's even more boring than my old reviews when I was named after a turtle. Do these weapons actually have distinct names besides gun and bazooka? I'm actually genuinely curious. Either way, they look fantastic. And of course, you have 2 of these hands. I still don't understand why I got 2 of these and not 2 open hands. One of them is better suited for holding the Heat Hawk because it has the this little triangle piece, and then the other one has absolutely nothing. I don't know why it has absolutely nothing. I have a feeling it's kind of pointless. And you can store the Heat Hawk on the side skirts, though the fit isn't the best. But that's not all. You get a spare drum mag for the machine gun, which is perfect for stop motion, and you can even store the spare on the back skirt. Or if you'd rather store the bazooka, this tab bolts down, and that just sits right there. No wonder why people like this guy. He's fully loaded and ready to fuck some shit up. Unfortunately, though, while I'm pretty sure he did come with a stand adapter, I don't know where it went. And I would use this stand adapter for the lad, but the last time I did that, the damn thing broke. And here's the crazy part.
He's not even that big.
I mean, he is a 1/44 scale model, but considering that I've handled Bionicles that are bigger than this thing, the amount of posability that the Char Zaku 2 has is kind of insane. He is about the size of Gnaw, half as big as Mecha Godzilla, easily smaller than, we'll get to her later, also easily smaller than Mo. And here he is with Terror, Cabal is in hell, and for the fuck of it, Bionicle presents Prydak, the bloody creep from the deep. That was cheesy as fuck, but it's great to have you back, old friend. So, what's my verdict? Why did I sound so edgy? Well, the articulation is great, the colors are appealing, and it's all in a package the size of Fillion. And for it being the first model kit I ever built, what a place to start! I was honestly ready to contest Mecha Gaikotsu's review of this figure, but then I actually fixed the issues like the builder I'm supposed to be, and yeah, I agree with them. And while I'm not sponsored by them, Hobby Link Japan is the best place to get Gundam model kits, even though I got this model kit and many others from Target and son of a bitch!
You're welcome, Zealots!
I am gonna take a break from reviewing stuff because, I need to get my, gaming degree.